Hey guys, what is up and welcome back to another video. On today's video I'm going to be doing something a little bit different, shifting my focus from doing random reviews and other various reviews to doing lore videos that revolve around sci-fi and doing versus battles and theories and stuff like that, just because I feel like I find it easier to do and I have a lot more time to do that rather than play an entire game and review it for you guys, so I feel like it's the better option to do. On today's video we're going to be tackling the question of can the Daleks survive a flood invasion, and at first I was very pro-Dalek on this one. I didn't actually know whether the flood would have a chance, but after some thought and some research I theorized that the flood could in fact do something, and I'm going to get into that in a minute. This battle will theorize that the flood do exist in the Doctor Who universe, and they will begin on a Dalek planet inside of their empire, as just on that one planet, and we will see how far they can spread. This planet will be a Dalek slave world or just a random Dalek colony with a small Dalek force on it. It won't be seen as a powerful enough Dalek planet, otherwise the flood would not have a chance. But before we do that, let's get into some backstory. The Daleks, arguably one of the most powerful races, not just in Doctor Who canon, but in all of sci-fi lore itself, with very few being able to stand up to the feats that they have achieved. The Dalek race hails from the planet Skaro. They are a race born from war, a war that lasted over 1,000 years and was fought between the two factions of the Thals and the Khalids. Eventually it was decided by the Khalid government that one of their top minds should be brought forward. This mind was Davros, one of the smartest and most genius Khalids on the planet who had been mutated at a young age during the war. He decided that the only way to save his race was to mutate them and put them inside near indestructible shells that would form a body-like tank armor with high-powered weapons to match. These were the Daleks. Introduced in the final days of the war, they stormed the Thals, annihilating nearly all of them and marching straight to victory. The Daleks at their core are designed to simply hate everything that isn't of their own design. You could argue that this was a huge design flaw on Davros's part, as it not only led to the destruction of himself, but also the thousands of others as the Daleks spread their war of hate throughout the universe in the ultimate form of racial purification. However, the Daleks did not always start as an intergalactic empire. After the 1,000-year war, they stayed in their cities and were afraid of the nuclear radiation that lay outside. When they encountered the Doctor and his companions for the first time, they soon learned that they could in fact survive outside of their city walls without the need for the Thals' radiation medication. As a result, it would then lead to them trying to trick the Thals into a false peace treaty in an attempt to exterminate them. This would fail, resulting in the Thals being able to fight back and destroy seamlessly every Dalek in the city. However, this did not work, and the Daleks soon returned, and this time they became a spacefaring civilization. In the many years since the Doctor has encountered the Daleks since, they have achieved many great feats. They have conquered the Earth multiple times, once in the 22nd century and again in the 21st century, where they planned to use all the planets they had stolen throughout time to construct the reality bomb, a bomb that would send a wave throughout the universe, killing all life that isn't Dalek. They would then remain the only beings in existence, the ultimate form of life. Arguably the Daleks' best feat, however, was waging a war against the Time Lords, who were arguably the most intelligent and most powerful race in all of time and space. In the Day of the Doctor we learn that every single one of the ancient weapons apart from the moment, also known as the Galaxy Eater, was used on the Daleks, all of which failed. In an alternate timeline the Doctor did in fact use the moment, which caused both the Daleks and the Time Lords to both be completely annihilated. However, the Daleks did in fact return, being part of a human hybrid species which was seen as impure by future generations of Daleks. Since then, however, the Daleks have not been on the same scale, but they are still one of the most prominent forces throughout the universe, able to subjugate many without even trying. The Daleks have also fought wars against the Cybermen and the Human Empire, both of which ended in their favour. But now let's look at the Dalek technology. Arguably their most well-known weapon is their gunstick, which fires an extremely powerful form of energy at their enemies, usually killing them dead in a matter of seconds. In remembrance of the Daleks, it is described as scrambling people's insides. It is also described as a death ray. However, the Daleks have also been seen using other forms of weaponry such as gas, kinetic bullets, and also lowering their energy on their gun sticks so that they can paralyze their enemy, although this has been described as being able to cause immense psychological damage if used too often. The Daleks also have their manipulator arm, which can be equipped with a variety of different attachments, whether that be a plunger, a seismic detector, or a flamethrower. There are also many types of Daleks more powerful than the typical Dalek drone, such as the Special Weapons Dalek, the Dalek Fighter, and the Reconnaissance Dalek, all of which showed much more fighting potential. Dalek shielding was also just as dangerous as their weapons, with many people who came into contact with them bursting into flames. However, other Dalek weapons were capable of breaching a Dalek shield and completely destroying it. Daleks also employed many slave drones that could fight for them, all of which usually came equipped with their own gun sticks that were very much as capable as a Daleks. Whilst fighting wars, many Dalek forces employed a battle computer which was used to gain strategic information over their enemies as well as guide their forces throughout the battle. However, after a long war with the Movellans, which ended in a stalemate where both their battle computers could not outmatch each other, it was eventually decided that human creativity be put inside the battle computer to help guide them better and more effectively, coming up with much more creative strategies and tactics that could win wars for them on a much more larger scale with more effectiveness. Many humans were also simply rewritten genetically in order to act as mindless Dalek puppets that could also enact this creativity while on the battlefield. Dalek Asylum was also seen having nanobots in its atmosphere that could rewrite a human automatically. Naturally, this was a very deadly and dangerous defense for anyone that came into contact with it. It has often been described that a Dalek's main weakness is its eye stalk, probably because it is the less shielded part of a Dalek. However, I do not see it being too much of an inconvenience among the newer generation of models, as their shielding is much more superior to their older counterparts. However, now that we've discussed the Daleks, let's move on to the Flood. The Flood are a parasitic race that fought the Forerunners thousands of years ago, who were born from the Precursors who wanted revenge on the Forerunners after they enacted a long war against them. The Flood are highly contagious and are able to rewrite all forms of biomass to help them grow and become even more intelligent with each person or living creature that they infect. Once enough biomass is collected, a Flood can become a Gravemind, a highly intelligent form of life which can control the Flood's fleets and many forces with extreme precision. After a Gravemind comes a Keymind, which is basically the same thing, only they are far more intelligent and able to do a lot more damage in the long run. Flood come in other forms as well, however, with an infection form being their most common. The infection form is what is responsible for latching onto an individual and converting their biomass into the Flood. They can then either become a combat form or turn into something else like a carrier form, which can carry more infection forms for the Flood army. Flood have also been seen to simply reprogram damaged Covenant ships and fly them throughout space, meaning that they can also convert technology as well. Another form of this technology conversion is the logic plague, which can be extremely dangerous to any computer system, corrupting it completely. During the Flood Forerunner War, basically every single form of weaponry in the Forerunners' arsenal was useless. It was then decided that the only way to beat the Flood infection was to wipe out all life in the universe and simply start from scratch. So now that we've gone over the backstory, what do I think? Can the Daleks survive a Flood infection? Now I think it could go one or two ways. If the Flood did start on a Dalek colony that was inhabited by a strong Dalek force, the Daleks could most likely completely eradicate it within a matter of days, maybe even just a day, because the Dalek weaponry and Dalek technology is just too strong. However, if a Flood infection was able to grow unknown to the Daleks and spread to neighbouring planets, it is more than likely that a Flood form could probably gain access to a Dalek's battle computer and maybe gain a lot of organic biomass from many of their slave drones. Once the battle computers were infected and the slaves were also infected, they could most likely fight back against the Daleks with their own technology and maybe even take control of living Dalek organisms once their casing was destroyed, meaning that they could then use their own technology against them in a more effective way, since we have seen them more or less fix Covenant technology in the past, which means that they could easily do it to Dalek's technology. Also, the logic plague would be a strong flaw against the Daleks, simply because if a battle computer was in fact infected with the logic plague, it might be able to infect their hive minds as well. I don't know how much security exactly the Dalek hive mind does have, because even the Doctor has said he has been trying to crack it for years and was unable to. The only thing that was able to do it was Clara in Dalek form, meaning that maybe it's possible that only Dalek organisms can access it. However, once a flood does take control of a Dalek specimen, it would more than likely be able to access the hive mind and simply drive the Daleks insane anyway. If the flood were able to establish a grave mind or a key mind, it is more than likely they would probably outmatch the Daleks in strategy and tactics once they have a few battle computers and Dalek drones under their wing. So overall, even though I do think the Daleks are one of the most overpowered, strongest races in all of science fiction, I do think the Flood would still be able to beat them, just because of the many human slaves and other forms of biomass they inflict into their technology. Once a battle computer is captured, they could easily drive the Dalek forces anywhere they wanted. A grave mind could outsmart them, and even a key mind could do even better. Like I said, I do think the Daleks could win if the infection was caught early, simply because they are just way too powerful with their weaponry, and the Flood infection forms wouldn't be able to touch them. They'd simply burn up on their shields, with them only being able to break through the Dalek shields if they infected slaves that were equipped with gunsticks. I personally think that pre-Movellan era Daleks would have a much better chance of defeating the Flood, simply because they did not interface humanity and other life forms into their slave camps and into their warfare as heavily, and they were a much more purified Dalek race. But unfortunately, this video is looking at the current, most up-to-date lore of the Daleks, not their past iterations. So yeah, that's my overall thoughts. What do you think? Do you think the Daleks or the Flood could win? Do you agree with me, or do you disagree? But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Remember to like, subscribe, hit that notification button, and I will catch you on the next video.